Assalamu alaikum and welcome. I'm your host Rashid Al-Hawli and this is the Muslims in Tech podcast. Today we have our special guest Emad Alashi. Emad is a developer, architect and software consultant with 20 years of experience and he helps organizations get the best business outcomes using technology. Welcome to the podcast, Emad.
Thanks so much for having me, Rashid.
Thank you for coming along. So, as we typically run the podcast, we're going to take you as far back as we can and tell us how your interest began in technology and particularly with you, I think, software.
Right. Okay. Let's see. I think this is going to be surprisingly not like all the other stories where I started my programming in the age of 10, unlike other experts. But it's I was raised in Jordan most of my life, and which is in the Middle East. And I was lucky enough to be raised in a family where I had access to technology. So I was familiar with computer and principally like PCs and in general. However, I haven't really given a lot of attention to programming, let's say, in that space. So it started when after university, because at that time, like in, let's say 1999, it's the computer science was moving. Like people started understanding that there is like programming and languages, and you can have a career and development. That 1999 was a very good time at that time to specialize in computer science. So
just before the tech bubble burst.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple years after.
My brother had a big influence on me. Like he was 5 years older than I am, and he also studied computer science, and also my sister before him as well. So I thought, yeah, maybe I can go in computer science, but I only loved it after, like when I started the university and I started realizing what you can do with programming and languages and software. I started becoming more fond of this thing, because you can, whatever you write right now, you can see the results instantly. So this is where it started. Like I can't say it's university really more than anything else.
So you got into university and you were doing computer science, and then as you were studying, you kind of built a love for this thing.
Exactly.
All right. So you get into university. I'm guessing. So was it a 3-4 year course?
4 years. Indeed.
4 years. Okay. And what languages did you do at university?
Look, at that time, maybe like it's to clear things out. I think this has been going for years until now. I think I can imagine this is the same problem that we're having, is that there is a fair bit of a disconnect between universities and real life. So at my time, I learned languages like C++, C, Java. There was a bit of Java at that time. What is it like? Let me like even languages like Prolog. Like Prolog. I know that no one knows that. Yeah, it's very interesting language actually. When like I heard the listeners to look it up. It's a premise-driven language. But it's like,
what's it mostly used for?
Look, I don't think I've seen anyone use it out of university. But like, it's not that the language is not useful. In fact, you'll be surprised that in software industry, because I've spent enough time to see that there is a span of going up and down. So, for example, functional languages. Like at my time, there was no one talking about it. It was all object oriented.
Yes.
Even though that functional language existed before, like it was even from my time of university. But now functional languages is coming. Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't look down to Prolog from a customer. It's like, yeah. But to go back to the point, like it's there was a fair bit of disconnect between universities. So the languages like I said, it was Java and C++. But even with these ones, all what we did was producing console output, like taking input from the console and putting output in the console, and like, there was nothing a lot. However, at that time, the .NET came about, Yes, it was, I think, version 1.1 or even beta at that time.
Very early.
Yes, very early, and everybody was talking about .NET.
Everybody where?
Everybody in the industry, because like, look, Microsoft is the one that brought .NET, correct?
Yes.
And Microsoft at that time, because it's Microsoft and it was the most common operating system, the way to build applications at that time, there was like C++, MFC libraries that was very complex to create. Like you had to go down the operating system level to create a window handles and moving a lot of parts. Exactly. So when Microsoft when Microsoft built .NET, it was natural that everybody who was building applications for the Windows operating system, that they are like, their eyes were like, oh, what is this new thing? And Microsoft managed, because all these corporates have very strong ways of marketing things, .NET started becoming a thing, like everybody's talking about it in the industry. Now, the good thing is that there's a lot of smart individuals in the universities, and they get exposure out of the university. For example, especially when you go to, like, I don't know what they call it these days, but you get a chance to go to work for a company for a couple of months to get a feel. Yeah, and the local experience, a lot field experience. It's part of the curriculum, and this is where I learned most about the .NET, because I went and worked for a company for free for a couple of months. And and then I learned about .NET, and this is where, like, I started building the knowledge and the experience and the interest out of the curriculum. So it was like, when I said it was the university, it was not that the university was the reason why it's the era. Like during the university time, I started finding more of interest in how to deal with this. And of course, like I said, the influence of my brother, because I've seen him doing interesting stuff at work when I was in university, and he was trying to show me how some of the things I'm studying in university will eventually pour into
that. Okay, nice. So do you remember the first thing you built with .NET?
Let me look. It's I think before .NET, the thing that was most interesting for me before .NET was the classic ASP. Classic ASP.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not ASP.NET. Yeah. It's classic ASP. Classic ASP was before the .NET era, and I was in the university, and then there was a very smart fellow that also it's out of the curriculum, but he was being the smart person he studied it outside of the university, and there was initiatives within the university where students can come and say, I want to teach something.
Teach or learn?
Teach.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is an additional to the curriculum. It's free. The student do it for exposure, for like contributing back to the community and the like. And it's not part of the curriculum. There's no marks on it, and people start like showing interest. Like, for example, if someone in the university, they decided, I think this is the example that I'm giving is a good example. It's like classic ASP. This guy came. His name is Tariq Al-Fadda. I can't forget his name, like, he's an amazing person. And he said, I'm gonna teach classic ASP. And I used to go to the university on Saturdays.
So this would be like outside.
Yeah, it's absolutely out of curriculum, out of subject, out of credit. So it's just like the university is a mean of arranging this, like allowing the person to do this. The university announces it. They give the space, but they don't interfere with anything else.
Yeah, they facilitate it.
Yeah, exactly. So this was the most interesting part I started building for real, like because at that time it was the boom of web applications, or the dynamic content of websites.
Yep.
Because before that it was like HTML a little bit of, like, I can't remember if it was JavaScript, a lot of JavaScript or not, but I don't think there was, but it was HTML. You build HTML pages. Static, very static. Like you craft the markup language by your hand.
Yep.
And you make something out of it. And
no boiler code or boiler templates.
Exactly. But then not even dynamic. Like whatever you build on that page it's going to be displayed. Yep. But then the dynamic concepts started coming in. Of course, there was other languages. I can't remember exactly. I think there was Java, and stuff. But there's classic ASP. Classic ASP where it's a scripting language where it runs on the server and it creates this HTML for you. And since it's based, like it can read records from the database based on the exam. Okay. Yeah, so it's like that. So it was like a big thing. And in that course, I managed to learn this language. And then at the end of the course, the instructor said, "Guys, you can now charge 90 JDs per page." Of course, this at that time, like it was a lot. Like
JDs is expensive. It's expensive currency.
Yeah, it is. And the funny thing is that the pricing method was like per page.
Yeah, so exactly.
Like how many pages are you building? Like 5 pages. Oh, this is like $600 or whatever. I guess it was funny way on how to price things. But it's like a person at university being like have this knowledge and will be able to charge people for money that much. Yeah, that was very interesting. However, I didn't do anything really for like that. It's unfortunate. I tried. Like there was some guy who wanted, like he had a furniture business where they wanted to do like show dynamic content for furniture and taking pictures of the like. Unfortunately, it did not really go well. It's because at that time as well, people were not ready to pay big bucks of money for software. I think it's even right now. Like in that region, if you are not a big company, if you're not a corporate company, there's very hard. Like you cannot really justify paying a lot of money for software unless you know that software is going to bring you much more the benefit. Yeah. And even if that's the case, it will cost you much more than what you can afford at the moment. So a lot of the companies that did not really use software, they would just buy Microsoft Office, whatever they have. Yeah. So things to do, accounting system that they had to. But they would not invest in buying like software to produce their content on the website, for example. So, in a summary, like there was not a lot of business happening. Yeah. In addition to that, like I haven't been a salesperson like ever in my life. It's having like the sales skills is really different from technology skills. And of course, I'm telling you now, if anyone is listening to this, you have to have sales skills. You have to, even if you are the geekiest person ever, you have to learn how to sell. Things
like what? What do you mean by sales skills? Just so we can clarify for people.
For example, because it's a spectrum. Yeah. What you're trying to sell. So your job can be really just sales. Like you go to clients and say, I have this software, will you pay money? And I give it to you. I make it available. This is like convincing them to give their money to you. In return, you give them that software.
Yep.
But on the other spectrum, why you need selling experience, or not experience, like skills, you have to enhance it. Even if you are a professional software developer, if you want to go for a job, to take that job, you have to sell yourself. You have to be able to convince the recruiter or the employer that you are capable. If you're not capable of doing the technology, you are capable of doing the job. If you're not capable of doing the job, you are capable of learning and becoming better and being able to sell.
Okay. Yeah. And what are some ways that, let's say someone looking for a job can demonstrate that, they're a fit for the position? So like some people might think that if I post my stuff on GitHub, it should speak for itself.
This is not really sales skills. Yeah. You are still in the technology space, but knowing, like studying the company that you're employing for, or applying for, studying the space that they are at. knowing the job that you are applying for, knowing your skills, and being able to convince the person directly, not just like even with words. For example, how you sit, the words you use, the confidence you show. These are very personal skills. Even if you have a GitHub repository out there and you sit in the interview and you show a lack of confidence, they will not employ you. They're gonna say, "Oh, did you do things before?" "Oh, I did, but they are very simple things like that." But if you use other words like yeah, I built something. It was very like I used it in reality. My cousin used it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing. You didn't lie. You didn't change anything. But it's one in one situation you downplayed it and you showed lack of confidence. On the other side, you just boosted it and gave it a shape and a feeling,
Yeah, you got buy-in from
value.
other people.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something that plagues a lot of technical people, downplaying themselves.
Yeah.
And I know from myself. It's difficult. Like we often see something, we see a challenge, we want to solve it, and then just move on to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you've got to take the time to like sit down, think, all right, what did I actually do in this project? What did I actually achieve? And write it down because it'll clarify your thinking for you.
Absolutely. And it's gonna give you a boost of confidence in the future, because if you don't do this, and we have very short memory, and sometimes we also not just have short memory, but we a lot of us tend to focus on the downside.
Yeah.
I failed at that thing. I didn't do a good job at that thing. And if you keep doing this, like 3 years after your first job, and you apply for another job or another position, and you look back and you only saw you see the drawbacks, it's very hard for you to move on, or to have the confidence to apply for another. But if you do what you just said, Rashid, which is very good tip for the listeners, is capture your achievements, look at the positive things that you have accomplished, and try to make this very clear in your mind first, so that once you want to move on, you have the confidence yourself, and also you can convince with others, showing them your track of record. It says.
Your track record.
Yeah, I think we derailed. I don't know. We were.
Well, that's how the podcast goes. So we go down these rabbit holes because ultimately, at least for me, that's what makes it interesting. Like a chronological order is fine, and like we'll always come back to it.
Cool.
Like my job to track it, but ultimately, like these rabbit holes for me is where the nuggets are.
Lovely.
Yeah, like if you think about it now, especially as I'll speak for Muslims in tech, a lot of the people that come to us come seeking work. How can I fix up my resume? How can I, put my best foot forward in front of employers?
Yeah.
And look, we literally touched on that without even realizing that, we touched on it. And, someone is going to benefit from that and go fix up their resume, note down their stuff at work, and save themselves, some heartache the next time around they go to an interview. And for me, like that's where the nuggets are, and that's one of the things, probably my favorite thing about the podcast.
Lovely.
Cool. So we'll go back to you finished university. You did classic ASP.
Yeah.
You got that dynamic content. You started getting that dynamic content onto a web page. Where does it go from here?
Okay. So that's introduced me to the world of web pages, and this is where my interest and love came to the web in general. More than anything else, really. At that time, I also, like maybe after 2 years, I still was in university, because this was maybe one of the first few years. In the last part of my university, I had the chance to work for a company as part of the curriculum, to like a field experience. So I went to that university, and I was very lucky to meet another person, Basil Abul Khiran. He's like one of also the most genius and very pure-hearted people ever. He was very smart and passionate person. He was contagious in his hunger for learning and passion for technology. I like this spark. I felt like it jumped to me. I had it before, like with the classic ASP and technology and my big brother, but this guy had also a great influence, and I have to give him credit for that. So
it was like an infectious energy about it.
Absolutely. always big books next to him, reading, referencing that you can do this, you can do that. And then in the break we are talking about like the different technologies like this at that focus at that time was the ASP.NET 1.1, the first versions. And then at that time I was like, okay, .NET seems like something. So I started reading. I think I read the whole Red book. It was from Rock's Production, something like this. Like
Red book, is it?
It's
a red called?
No. It was a red it was a red cover.
Yeah.
This were the signature books. It's a red.
Okay.
It's a red.
I'm not very well versed in.
Yeah, right. So you know what? I want to really.
Yeah, bring that up.
I can. It was very old. Rock's Production. It was WROX, something like this.
Just so we can orientate the audience, what year was this?
Yeah, it was 2002.
Okay.
2002.
Only 20 years ago.
Oh, it's to me, it feels like yesterday. Allah, subhanallah, and
it doesn't show on you, but you know.
I have a couple of white weeds here and there, and a lot of experience. Yeah, so I think 2002.
Yep.
So I started reading that. I read the whole book. Scott Hansen was one of the writers, I think, at that time. Scott Hansen also one of the people who had a great influence on my career. He likes to call himself a teacher, and I think this is the best description for him. Like, if you can check his podcast, also Hansen Minutes.
I still
He does. He has been doing it for years. But he was a blogger first, and he was a writer. And
yeah.
So I learned a lot from this guy as well. So yeah, so I read the whole book, and this I felt like this is it. C#, .NET is the thing that's coming. And Microsoft is pushing it. Everybody's talking about it. This is gonna be the next thing. So I studied it, and I felt like I became good at it. And then I finished university. Before finishing university with one semester, I was like thinking, what's gonna be next? Like, there's a couple of big names I was enrolled in, and then a friend of mine, he lived in the US for some time, and he came back. He was a designer, a very, very close friend, and very like he's like a big brother to me. He knew someone from the US who came to Jordan to settle in Jordan, but he also wanted to open a startup.
A startup?
Yes. So we wanted to build something similar to Yahoo.com. Yahoo.com at that time was big. Was like Yahoo, was the biggest thing at that time. And being the directory of the world at that time, he wanted to bring similar concept. This guy, the investor, to bring this similar concept in Jordan.
He was an investor.
He's I shouldn't have said investor. He's someone who had money, who wanted to open a company. Okay. He came from technology background. He was not. I don't think he was a developer, but he came from technology background. He likes to make a tech startup.
Okay.
So the common friend approached me and said, like, I know someone who wants to open a startup, and what do you think about this? And I said, okay, fair enough, let's do this.
The early employees.
I was employee number 2.
Oh, there you go. Very early.
Unfortunately, it did not succeed. So like the story would be nice.
Yeah.
To say employee number 2, but I think we never went beyond 6 or 7. So like
6 or 7 employees.
Yeah, we didn't go there. Look, I think this is very good to bring it up, because it's important to show the people out there that there will be failures. Yep. Even if you're an entrepreneur or a developer joining a startup company, things might turn in the way that is not your dream.
Yeah.
And you think that this is a waste, but it's not a waste. You learn things, you learn experience. Yeah.
And I think this is just my personal experience from working in startups, both as a developer and a founder. The breadth of things you have to do is very different to, say, when you're in a big company. So you have multiple hats on.
Absolutely. Yeah, when the company started, I was a developer, and there was a designer, and then another common friend came and joined us. He's also amazing at technology. Now, these people now they are stars. Like they are. If I show you their LinkedIn profiles, they are like, I'm very proud of having such
For
friends.
sure.
But it's anyway. Another developer joined us, so I was two developers, one designer, and the employer. And I had to do the things from A to Z, me and that developer.
Yeah.
We were like friends, competitors, like competing on like who's gonna do that technology, who's going to do that page. Well, but we still collaborated. It was very funny relationship. It's beautiful. I really appreciate it. And we managed to build this website that is built on ASP.NET using user controls at that time. I don't know if anyone's still building ASP.NET or web forms, like when you reuse the controls and you say user controls, and it was very nice experience. However, it did not take off. Like I spent 2 years in this startup.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we tried to like rebuild the website, but this is also a message to entrepreneurs. Like we were fresh graduates. Okay, we didn't have a lot of experience. I would believe that we were like our passion to the technology was a good driver for us to try to do the best and then the best. But if you want to build a startup, you'd want to have some experience.
The developers have experience.
Yes. You want to build something that look, there was nothing wrong with the technology that we have used. Like the company did not fail because of a technology decision that we made. However, maybe would have built things faster.
Do you think speed was the problem?
Look, I think there was many problems.
Yeah. Okay.
Speed can be one of them. Like as a company where you like a startup and you are putting money in this company, if the developers tell you that this is going to take 6 months to build, you are burning 6 months of salary. Yeah. And this cash is very important to the survival of the company. So yeah. So if you can as a startup entrepreneur, you can get this with 1 month because of someone who have experience or build it in a way that can prolong things easier or make things future builds easier.
Yeah.
You will definitely have a better position.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's on that point actually. I remember listening to the founder of Instagram, and when he first built Instagram. I bring this up a lot with developers because I personally, like when I started programming, I was a bit of a cowboy developer. Do whatever needs to be done, get it up, keep going. But when I listened to this, it hit me all at once in the sense that having a proper infrastructure, especially software infrastructure, can save you a lot of time down the road, even if you spend a bit more time. So I'll get to the actual point of what he said, and that was like, he used Django. And one of the reasons why he used Django as a framework, I'm sure there are other frameworks that do something similar, was because the testing capability was incredible. Like it came inbuilt. I think in Python it's called PyTest.
right.
And they made it really easy to get that testing going, especially right out of the box. And what that allowed them to do as Instagram was that when they grew, bugs were very easy to find.
Right.
Yeah. So when you deploy, you go live, a million things can go wrong. And if you look at Instagram, I think within a week or two, they were at 1 million users. So you can only imagine there's bugs galore everywhere. So having that infrastructure built properly allowed them to scale to like, I think it was 30 million users or whatever, with a 12-person team for 18 months before they got bought out eventually.
Right.
Yeah, so I think, and I'm talking from experience here, like we can often, especially junior devs or people starting out, can get carried away trying to solve things when sometimes you just need to take a step back, you know, sort out the infrastructure, make sure it works right, because trying to go back and fix it, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I totally agree. Also, I don't want to, like, also we have to balance it back. Like, I don't want the entrepreneurs out there to be afraid, like, oh, now I have to put a very big senior architect to help you the company.
No,
You have to find the balance between the right experience, so and another reason why that company did not fail, I think it was the timing as well. Because at that time, still, the internet was becoming a thing. more prominent, like people are getting used to it, but it's not as now. It's not like everybody is on a mobile and a laptop, especially in that region. So we were trying to build a directory for Jordan and Amman at that time, and we had the chicken and egg problem. You want to build a website where people go to and they find a lot of stuff, but you also want people to come and put their content there and pay the ads that's gonna come. And this it was very hard. Like, and this is like also like known about any marketplace idea is that the chicken and egg is very hard to solve.
Yep. And you pretty much had to create the supply and the demand.
Exactly. So at some point we were trying to, like, we did it ourselves, data entry, putting the information from the yellow pages into the website. Like, it was not easy to build that content where you want to bring people in and also start putting ads, and like we have a lot of numbers. So it was a noble idea, but it did not fly, unfortunately, at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does Emad go from there?
Oh, okay. Another startup.
Wow, he didn't live with the first one.
The other one, it was someone who had business experience. They had some money, and they had business experience especially in sales. They are
they're salespeople.
Salespeople.
What year is this?
2000 and probably 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 5. Yeah. So 2005, this person started this company. He was a foreigner, a lovely person as well. He came, and I was one of the senior people at that time, senior, like 2 years experience. I was good enough to be a senior team lead. And there was an architect. This individual have invested in an architect that time. Unfortunately, that architect was not the area of experience was not the matching the technology that we were building, unfortunately. But we were building a CRM desktop application that is server and client, and this was very different technology from web applications, because now we are building applications using VB8.NET, I think it was that time, or VB. The application was there. We were morphing it into the .NET and making it a client server as well. It was something like this at that time. I can't really remember the details, but we spent a lot of our time building the desktop application. It was a desktop application with communication.
Okay, yeah.
Also, this was like had its own challenges. The pace of how fast we were was not too fast because of the lack of experience, and it was ambitious because client server applications at that time is not as simple as building web applications. Because you have to find the server, find the client, communicate the protocols. It went offline. Now we have to write things on the synchronized data. Like it was fairly complex, and also it was very hard to sell. Like because we were trying to match a technology at that time was very advanced. For example, the end user of the application was supposed to be able to design a form in the system
on their desktop.
Yes. So the salesperson would come, and I would say, okay, I'm gonna build a form, and they would start building a form, like dragging user, like just like a low code, no code, what they call these days. Yeah. So they build the form, and then they save it, and this form becomes alive later, so they can
able to share it and all that kind of stuff.
It's not this customization is to tailor for the needs of the product, not the need of another individual. So they are not building the form for other people to use it. It's that because it's a CRM
Yeah.
and they're selling many products. Not all the products have the same characteristics,
Yes.
and you want have dynamic way of saving the content of that characteristics of the product. So you are selling a car, you're selling a house. You can't have the same
Form for both.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So you want to build something for a car, you want to build something. This dynamic concept complicated system way too much.
Yeah.
It was very hard to build, especially that we were juniors. I keep kicking the microphone. So it was very complex to build, which is the same story. Took a lot of time. There was a lot of bugs, and at some point, the person who was who started this, I started running out of money, and there's not a lot of sales. But
So people didn't catch on to it.
we were not exposed too much to how the product was being sold. Because it was in a different country, we didn't have exact numbers or contacts with the clients, but we used to receive instructions from that person to just build it this way, build it that way,
Okay.
do this, do that. But we didn't have exposure on the sales. But it was obvious that there was not a lot of
Users.
yeah. Of course, at that time, I've spent another 2 years, and a half almost, and this is probably a lesson about destiny. Like, don't worry too much about your risk and your how the money's gonna come or your career is gonna come. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yani, have a plan for you. The only thing you have to do is to do your best.
Yeah.
So the announcement was that we're gonna close the company. Whoever can't find a job, please do. He was very, very good founder, by the way. Like, I really appreciate how he ran the company at that time. And he said, "Go ahead. We have maybe a 1 month or 2 months before we can close." So what happened is that I applied for one of the most prestigious companies in Jordan. It's eStarter.
Okay.
eStarter at that time was I want to find the best word to describe it. If you work with eStarter at that time, you are a star developer.
Okay. So they only hired the best.
They hired the best. It was very hard to get in the company. It was known that all the people there are very smart, very good architects, and they have a lot of projects happening in the Gulf area, and there's a good of stability, and they pay prices, and you have a tag, name tag, and you scan, and it opens the door. This in this at that time, for someone in my career in Jordan, was like by itself is a big thing. And okay, I have access card. I can open doors with.
Only I can get it.
So it was a big thing, and it's very funny because at that time, during through the 4 years or 4 years and a half, because I was almost the most senior in my team in this regard, and I was at that time listening to Dr. Proc's podcast and was reading blogs. I can't even for guys from Rolla, I think the name of the website. Okay, it's dead now, but it was one of the most a lot of articles was written there.
And this all in the .NET ecosystem.
Yes. So I felt like I was really good. I felt like, yes, I'm on top of my game. I'm a smart developer. I have the skills and the like. I was very humbled afterwards.
Go on, tell us how you were humbled.
Yeah. So I felt like I was good.
Yeah.
And then I started applying for companies, and I applied for eStarter. And I went through the interviews, and I was lucky enough. Maybe the word lucky we shouldn't use it, but it's like I was just the destiny allowed me to move in. I had the interviews. I did good in the interviews, and I got in. When I got in, I'm not the smartest person anymore. Even that era, I was not even the smartest. I had in the startups, I had friends who were really smart as well, even outsmarted me. but I was feeling good about myself, like how my track record is going. And so
you're building up a bit of a resume.
yeah, exactly. But when I went into a startup, I feel like there's a lot of smart people. And they're really, like, when I talk about things, they know what they're talking about. There was a fair bit of a, I feel like this is one of the, I was fortunate to have such situations in my career where it's a friendship with a bit of competition, very friendly competition to who is doing the challenging parts, but with very good intentions. Like we never.
That's the best kind of workplace. You challenge each other to be better.
Exactly. And I was like, I still have very good connections in that era with these people. Like they're really smart people. Like I said, like I'm very. I can open LinkedIn and show you the people I'm very proud of knowing such people. So I was humbled. I realized, okay, I need to step like one step back, know my position, but this also urged me to work harder. So I was like, okay, I have to roll my sleeves better. I have to work more. And then I think one of the things that I found it's very nice that it happened to me is that when I joined, the system was big, and the way to build it, you had to do a lot of clicks. You have to go to that folder, copy that folder, put in that folder.
It's a development process.
Yeah. To build the software, like compile it and build it and make it running, you have to do a lot of stuff, and you have to get the code from there, change the configurations to match your environment. Do a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And I saw opportunity there because at that time I was reading about NAND. NAND is a .NET version of Ant. At that time, it was an automation tool.
Okay.
That you use it to build software, compile software, and
so Ant is an automation tool.
Yes, of course. I don't encourage you to go and look for these tools now.
So we give context here.
Exactly. It's and there was at that time also the .NET environment, the .NET ecosystem was copying a lot from the Java.
Okay.
Yeah. Java was way ahead as a community and technology compared to .NET. .NET was catching up all the time.
Okay.
For example, unit tests.
Yes.
Unit tests started in Java, and then the ecosystem in .NET started catching up and had unit tests. The automation tools as well. ORMs, the object relationship mapping. There was in Java, there was this called Hibernate, where you have XML and you define the relationship between the objects, and then there was in Hibernate, which is the copy, the .NET copy of Hibernate.
That closely.
Yeah, absolutely. Unit in Unit, I think at that time, Hibernate in Hibernate.
And this is all open source, right?
And everything is open source. So I seized the opportunity and I built an automation script.
Nice.
To automate this.
What did you build the script in?
In the NAND, it's an XML.
Okay.
It's an XML.
Yeah.
Very, very specific XML that can be interpreted by the NAND tool that executes the XML. Because in XML, for example, compile the software, copy and paste the folder. It's just command.
Sounds like
something. It's very similar.
Yeah.
This, like I said, there's waves in the industry where things go and come back, and they come in different shapes, and so it's you're gonna see this wave a lot.
Fascinating. The cycle just
absolutely
goes around. Yep.
Absolutely. So I built that script. I was very proud of myself, and I went to the architect, and I told him I can click a button, and I go make my coffee. I come back because this is when they were promoting these tools, they were used to say this, and I could say it practically. Like I can click a button, go make my coffee, I come back, and the tool is built.
It actually works.
Yeah, it cuts the time. Not just also because it's automated and there's less mistakes. And he was blown away. Like, he was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And seeing that face, this expression from the architect, I was so proud. I was like flying. Just seeing that expression from him, I was, this is it. I'm paid. So,
that's it. My job's done.
My job is done. And to make things even more interesting, he started telling the others, like, use this script. I might build that script. Use it, and you're gonna save you time and stuff like that. So that was really nice. I think in that era as well, what I did something that made me proud, and I'm not just saying them to blow, but it's to boast. It's to tell you that these things, the things that I made out of the daily job, had great influence on my success. I'm just bringing these examples for this. So
of course. And did the other developers take it on board and use
it? They did. Yeah, and it felt like it helped in shaping that relationship. Like, oh, I might know some stuff, so it was a good experience. But then also we used to have lunch outside, even though that we were like supposed to be saving our money and not eat outside as young people, young developers in that era. We used to have lunch outside every day.
Like takeaway.
Yeah. So we go, and the team, when it's lunchtime, or are we going? Are we going to this restaurant or that restaurant? And so, but then we would argue because we were a big team, and we had such a beautiful relationship. So we would go out together, like maybe 11 people or 7 people sometimes. So like,
we're gonna sit everyone.
So we like the restaurants did not have that problem having such many people.
Yeah.
But like most likely, let's say seven people that we used to go, 2 cars. So we used to argue that are we going to eat in that restaurant and eat that restaurant. So I jumped in as well.
Okay.
And I created a small page where we'll have the common options, and everybody logs in, and they put their preferences. KFC, Burger King, whatever. Yeah. The top, and everybody like they had put up the preferences, and then they submit at the time of the day. Of course, it was very, very clunky. I used to go to the database and clear the previous record of the day before because I have to prepare for the next day. It was like, but it was funny because we were all joking about it. The funniest thing about this is that we would do this, and the voting would come, but then we do something different. Like, for example, the voting comes out, it's Burger King. We come together and said, okay, the voting said Burger King. And then we look at each other and they said, let's go KFC. So it never really worked to help, but the idea was like, it was a lot of fun. And people would go and like, oh, don't vote for this, we ate this, and they have like, no.
It's a good team building activity.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun in that area. Yeah. The interesting part, like, even like all of this was in 10 months.
Everything that happened.
This has all. I only spent 10 months in eStartup, where I learned that I'm not the best. And there's a lot of smarter people than I am. That I had to do a little bit extra to differentiate or to do something like.
Sounds like you found your niche though, because you were finding problems and solving them.
I was like, let's say, fortunate in that. I also learned that it was a tough environment because we used to stay late every day, like to 7:30, 8 p.m. after hours. It was
Starting at what time?
Yeah, in the morning, 9, 8, 9, sometimes like 10, but we were doing more hours.
10 to 12
days, 10 months of because the project was late and it was an expectation at that time. I don't know if it still is the same. I think it's the same in a lot of companies, even in Australia, I think, where it's expected that you stay late in times of pressure.
Crunch time.
Yeah, but the problem is that this crunch time stayed for 10 months.
Oh, wow. That's a long crunch time.
And that's eStartup.
eStartup, yep.
Yeah.
So after eStartup, where does Emad go?
eStartup. Now, at that time, another competitor from eStartup opened or started growing. They opened before. Esense.
What's the name?
Esense.
Okay, eSense. I like the E.
So like E is everywhere. That
E is everywhere,
like
yeah.
E is that's how. So Essence was becoming more strong in the market, and everybody was talking about Essence or the like, and started pulling a lot of people from eStart and from the other companies because they can afford the increase, and I spent like 10 months with hard time, staying late. And it was an opportunity to become a team lead because at that time I was a senior developer. I didn't mention that in the startups time I was tech lead. Then in order to get the job in eStart, I had to drop from tech lead to the developer. And then to Essence as a team lead. So I was an opportunity for me to move up again.
Like a promotion.
Yeah. So I went to Essence. Essence was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, Essence, I would say it was one of the best companies I've worked for. The culture there was also around being smart, like the smartest people in the market, and we also, I don't know how they managed it, but there was not too many politics as compared with other. It was. Hardly like the people there were, you felt like most of them were clean in the house, or maybe this is what I perceived at that time. Maybe
or maybe they're just genuine competitors, because genuine competitors can be like honest brokers, where like best man wins. The thing.
Yeah, probably. I think it's also influenced by the founders. Like I really appreciate what they did at some point where they're really keen on raising the bar of the developers. They didn't want just to have developers to build their software for them. They were keen that the developers themselves become better.
Okay.
The CTO at that time also is a big person right now. One of the good CTOs that I've worked with. He made sure that there's standards documents that we have. If people can contribute to the standard document. He created a committee of architects. So it's it might not be best for all or good for all the companies, but giving the opportunity for the developers to have a say in the architecture of the software that we've been building, rather than an ivory tower architect who's like, you do this, but so giving the opportunity for seniors to really influence the architecture, it was really good.
Gives them a sense of ownership as well.
Exactly. And every once in a while, like this was not common in Jordan at that time, but at the crunch time as well, like they would bring a chocolate fountain. Yeah, so like 7 p.m. or like we're late, and then someone comes with a big trolley and chocolate fountain and marshmallows, and we come and put it was very nice. So
it's a good perk.
It's a good perk. Like, it was a good experience. And I made these also the friends that I made there. Now there are, one is product manager in Google. Like there's like positions everywhere, directors and big consultancies.
Yeah, and are you still linked up with most of these people?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Of course, it's not that we talk daily or even yearly, but I know if I open the messenger and I send a message to them, they would like just pick up from the last time we picked up. So we just continue.
Yeah, that's the best kind of friendship.
Exactly. Of course, like it varies. Of course, like different people, you have the tighter relationship or less, but it mostly, I can say that it's this kind of relationship, and we learned a lot from each other as well.
And just can you just take a minute to talk about the importance of cultivating those relationships in the workplace?
Oh my God, I can't emphasize this enough because it goes on two levels. The first level is their influence on you personally.
Okay.
I can't say that I would have never been in such a good position, alhamdulillah, if Allah has not given me these people around me.
Okay.
And I give them a lot of credit. My friends, my colleagues, they always pushed me to become better. They were happy for my successes, giving me guidance. I don't want to mention names because I don't want anyone to be like, oh, he didn't mention me or mention it. But like, I have friends who really pushed me really good, encouraged me really hard. It's very important to have people with positive attitude around problems. If I'm stuck at something, they don't just say, "Oh, maybe maybe just let it go." But like, "Oh, you can solve it. We can do this. What about you try this?" And when I succeed at something, that encourage, "Oh, this is excellent." Like, for example, when I started the podcast Dr. Arabi, it was around that time when I was in Essence. The amount of encouragement, the amount of excitement, people around the podcast, waiting for the next episodes, talking about it. And it's all friends, not just the podcast was good. It's not just that, it was both. Like,
So you had a good product and you had kind of like a viral loop, so to say.
Exactly. A lot of good feedback, genuine good feedback. Even when I got my Microsoft MVP award, based on my community contributions at that time, because I was also speaking in user groups and the like. They made a party for me, like in the Eastern.
Your friends?
Because they're like it was very.
That's awesome.
They gathered the kitchen. They brought me a gift, like congratulations on the award and stuff. Like, I was like very very excited, very grateful for such friendship. So this is one part. It's very important to surround yourself with people who will make you a better person. And the second part, of course, the opportunities. We are human beings, and we are social beings. We even though that with the current direction of individualism and of the like, no matter how far we go into that direction, we are still basing our relationships or directions based on relationships and connections and how direct they are and how we influence them. So if you know someone and you talk about your experience, if that person knows someone else, they'll say, I know someone who can help you, for example. I know an employer here in Australia. They almost don't go to recruiters. They don't do open job postings. It's all references. All reference. Like, so if they spread the word between their employees, and their employees would go and say, this person is really good. I have worked with them. They're really good. They have positive attitude. They have good experience. And then so it's the whole company is working on that basis. So you can see how far this can get to.
Oh, look, that premise is actually one of the bases for Muslims in tech. Like, it's one of the reasons why we started it in the first place. Because, like, I read a crazy stat where you had a referral, especially in the tech industry, you were 3 to 4 times more likely to be hired. And 80% of jobs are not advertised at all.
Absolutely.
So it's just like, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. It's important though that to make sure that your connection, the connections you're building are genuine and positive.
Non-transactional.
Exactly. It's these relationships that transactional, they don't last, and they don't reap the benefit. And it's like, even you're not gonna feel good about yourself really when if you achieve any benefit from it. So you have to be really genuine in the relationship, in the connection. You even if it's business, like you are clear about it, and you make it clear for the other person, like we can help each other. For example, if you want to make a business connection, you don't have to like go out and drink coffee after hours or whatever. But it's like we can build something together. You're aligned with the thoughts. It's not someone like you think in completely different direction and different ideology, and then you want to build something and it's like try to make a relationship with it. It's not gonna work. Yeah, so definitely surround yourselves with good friends and connections.
Of people,
Yeah,
and get them to. So I think an exchange is always a good thing.
absolutely,
Like if someone's giving you something, when the time comes,
absolutely,
help to do the same.
absolutely, and I think it goes even beyond just paying back. It's also for you, like the of course the reward from Allah subhanahu if you have good intentions, but also the the feeling that you are giving something to help others, and you can see like they are growing, they are benefiting, they are succeeding because the advice that you have given or a direction, or it's very rewarding by itself for yourself even, and it's like paying back. Of course, it's very important, and yeah.
Especially in software and open source, the term "pay it forward" is a big deal.
Yeah. I think pay it forward is like you do without waiting someone to do something for you. You do it as initiative, and you think that. But I think paying it forward is it's a good way of thinking that things will come back to you in a good way after, because you're paying it forward, and one at least this is my understanding from the word. But sometimes it's like even like you should do it without really waiting the reward. Like you do it because you genuinely want to help someone, and then at some point it'll come back to you. But you don't do it because you think it's gonna come back to you, because if you do this, the correlation might not work for you.
There's an interesting comparison here. It's actually one of the things that attracted me to, say, the software and startup industries in general, because I found open source is also big on this. I found that there was a wealth of people that were willing to help you at the drop of a hat. And I found that it was like a gravitational pull, like where, because so many people, they say you walk on the shoulders of giants, and you really felt that, because like all this open source code, that maybe you fork a repository and you build on top of, or you take the latest release of Python, for example, especially for me, and I found that my interactions with the Python community was just invaluable. Like I'd jump on Twitter, I'd type a question, and some guy who's like written multiple books would respond to me, helping me out with my questions. There's no incentive for him to do that, other than he really cares about the community,
Exactly.
and he just wants it to continue to grow.
Exactly.
And it just like it entrenches that mindset into everyone that comes in, and it just continues to flourish and grow beyond your wildest imagination.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah.
So going back to you,
Yeah.
with regards to, I think you're at Essence now.
Yes.
How long were you there for?
I stayed, I think 2 years and a half almost.
Yeah.
From 2009 to 2012.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. During that time, I was introduced to the Jordev community, Jordan developers, Jordev. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how it started, but of course they started long before I joined. But I found them somewhere, I think from Omar Qata, and one of the best friends I have, and as we started going to that user groups,
Nice.
And showing up. Spend some time knowing the friend, knowing the people there, making good connections with them, and then at some point they said, we need speakers and the like, and I said, okay, I would like to contribute. I didn't really speak, and then there was a very good Microsoft employee. He is not Microsoft employee anymore. Sama Shidia, one of the people who had one of the greatest influences on me as well. He's a coach right now. It's like CTO level. Yeah, it's like he's a brilliant guy.
Did you have the podcast at this point?
No, No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was he was running the Microsoft community at that time. He was Microsoft employee, helping with the community to make it a better community, like in Jordan. Yeah, speakers, attendees, all the like and stuff. And then, at one day, he said, "I want." Like he brought the community, the people who were around the small community, and we were like in a classroom almost, like a training for people to become speakers. And this was the first time for me to speak in public. So it was like he brought us into the classroom, and he gave us opportunity to everyone to talk about themselves, how they like found the technology, or something about part of your biography. It's like a small story. And it was my turn. It was very funny because it was clunky because I was like not really prepared. It was my first talk, and he was sitting on the side, and the classroom is full of people, and was like I was talking to him.
Oh, well.
Yeah, of course, this is like after years of experience, that this is the wrong thing to do. And he was like very lovely. He was looking into my eyes, and after I finished, he said, "You are going to be something." And he smiled. I was like, I'm not feeling I'm something at the moment anyway, but it's I felt like he gave me a confidence that I can take this a little bit more.
Someone believed in you.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I like this. You can work things out. You can make it better. He said, but you were looking at me all the time. So from that point, I felt like, okay, if that guy thinks I can do something, maybe I should continue doing it. And I started looking like, okay, I have a talk. I want to talk in .NET technology in the user group. And then,
You remember your first talk?
let me think.
Come on, scramble those cobwebs.
Look, one of the earliest talks I had was about ASP.MVC.
About?
ASP.MVC. It was because at that time it was ASP.NET Web Forms. There was the model view controller concept came afterwards to the technology and started becoming a thing in the industry. And then Microsoft built the MVC part of the .NET. And this is when I...
Just in the most basic terms, explain what a model view controller is for our people.
Right. So look, it might not be too easy to explain it, but before the MVC in the .NET world, the main component of a display of a page on the browser was a page. It's called a page. Yeah. This page you put controls on it, and they call the code behind it is that the logic that runs this page. It goes and brings the code, the data from the database, and displays it in the page.
Yeah.
However, it had several problems. One of the problems that you could not unit test it. At that time, unit tests became a thing, and everyone was talking about unit tests, so you cannot really unit test a web page. Yep. The second problem is that there was the correlation between how the page is being displayed and the display logic behind was very tightly coupled together. Yeah. So if you wanted to change the layout of the page, add a control or remove a control of the like, you had a direct influence on the business logic that is responsible of the display of the page.
Yeah.
So to separate the two, they said, okay, we're gonna produce the model view controller. It's a concept that existed long before ASP.MVC. It's like in other technologies, even older, like much older technology, where the technology is or the concept is that you have a model which is just merely a bucket of holding the data that you want to display in the page or use to display the page. And there's the view. This is the markup language that you want to display this data on.
Yeah.
And there is the controller. The controller is the logic where it hosts how you're gonna retrieve the data from the database, how you're gonna construct the data together, the model together, along with the view to display that data. This was supposed to, first of all, you can unit test the controller, because now it's not tightly coupled to the page as a component, and also this allowed you to change the view. So if your view, for example, is a web page, you can change it to JSON, for example. At that time, it was not a big thing, but it was like, this is the theory. Like, you can change it to or change the layout drastically different than markup language, in a way that it's
not impact
and not impact. Like, your business is still the same, your service is still the same, your model is still the same.
Yeah.
So this is the MVC.
everything.
Yeah. So I did a talk there, and it was received very well. And then from there, I started having more talks, and the rewarding feeling from having an audience paying attention to you and come back and asking questions, and also the feeling that you have taught someone something, is really nice. It's really, like, I can't tell, like, I feel now, I after giving these talks and presentations, I understand why teachers teach when the circumstances are really difficult. Like, I've always known that teachers are really having really tough times in this era. Little money, naughty students, but yet they do it because I feel like they feel many of them, they feel the rewarding experience that they have taught someone, and they help them to grow. Of course, I don't know if things are getting worse for teachers. I don't know if people they can still survive, but at least this is the feeling that I had when I teaching someone. At that time, also, .NET Rocks, the podcast, had a big influence on me. Like, it was from 2002 or 2003 when .NET Rocks started with Carl Franklin, to 2009. At that time, I've been listening to every episode that you do, and it was very funny, because the way I used to do it, I used to download because the bandwidth at that time was not really well. I had to download the MP3 file. I created an HTML page where I have the title of the episode and a link, and this web page is like static HTML. Sorry. And I download the MP3 file and make this link reach the MP3 file itself on the local file system. Like, it's not a link to the, and I would burn this on a CD. So I have, for example, episode from 1 to episode 100 on a CD. I put the CD on. I open the CD. There's an HTML page. I click on one of the files, the links, and the MP3 player plays.
Oh,
so it's like indexing the episodes.
Oh, wow. And you did that on a CD?
Oh, no, on the CD. Like, I'll burn it like CD-ROM, CD writer, and at that time. So I used to listen a lot to them, and they are also, like I said, also they had a big influence on me. I still listen to them these days.
So they're still going?
Yeah. They reached episode 2000 something now. Yeah. Consistency. Because this is a very thing also. Awesome to learn that consistency is a key. It is a key of success. So at that time, I decided, okay, maybe I'd like to do this as well. I want to do a podcast. And in 2009, there was almost no Arabic podcasts. I can't remember. Maybe there was a few podcasts in general. Yeah, it was very, very few. And there were nothing about technology, nothing about .NET.
But speaking just on the issue of podcasts, so you're talking about 2009 here, right?
Yes.
So what was the podcast landscape like at that time? Like, was it all-encompassing like it is now? They cover almost every topic and every part of life, or was it like limited to the tech sector?
No, look, I can't claim that I did any research really.
Okay.
But at that time, my interests individually was about technology. I didn't look into podcasts that are like economy, for example, or startup, or there was nothing like it was not my interest at that time.
Okay.
But on the Arabic space, also from my experience at that time, my exposure, I didn't see a lot of Arabic podcasts, regardless of the topic.
Yeah.
There was very, very few. there was, but maybe I was not aware of. So I started this .NET Arabic, and it was also very, very fun experience.
It would have been quite a journey.
It has. So I started, and also this is the influence of friends. I'm telling you, Omar Qadan, one of the most amazing people I've worked with and known. He encouraged me to do it, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And then I said, "Okay, I'm gonna need a guest." So he was my first guest.
Oh, wow. That's it.
Yeah, and I had this clipper microphone that I had to plug on my noisy laptop and use this simple recorder, and I would take turns with him on the microphone.
Live interview.
Live interview, exactly. Yeah. He would take the microphone and then he would answer. Then take the microphone and answer. It was in his guest room, I think, even like in his house, in his parents' house. So that was the first episode. And then, because I was also in esense, and esense was full of this smart colleagues, it was, and I also worked in a startup which is also was full of smart colleagues. I had a very good queue of smart people I'd like to talk to.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I had no problem with the guests.
That's your
Yes, exactly. However, the work was still a lot. Like I had to ping the person, encourage him, because not a lot of people like to, it was a new way of exposure, and not everybody was ready for such exposure. And they have to look good and sound good. And if people how are they gonna like me? I'm gonna sound stupid if I'm gonna make mistakes. So I talk to them, encourage them, and it's like, no, you're gonna be awesome and stuff, and then find a topic to talk about, and then help them, because this one was like there's not a lot of preparation, because it was we are just talking.
Yeah.
But at that time, like my way of doing this, I need to set my guest for success.
I was going to say, how did you prepare?
Yeah. So for example, I would say, give me a topic that you are very comfortable on talking about for 1 hour.
Oh, okay.
And everybody had something. Like I knew someone who was a database admin. They would talk about that, and someone was very passionate about ORMs.
Okay.
And at that time, ORMs was a big thing, because in Hibernate and the like.
Is this all in Arabic?
Yeah. It was very clear in the message from Dr. Tarabi at that time that we are not trying to solve the translation problem.
Okay.
So a lot of the terminology was still using the English language, but the conversation was in Arabic, because at that time also a lot of my smart colleagues were really not good in English.
Yeah.
And I felt like, because I was fortunate enough to listen to the networks and understand most of what they say, and I felt like a lot of smart people are deprived from such beautiful experience, because the conversational language is used in English in the .NET Rocks as well. So if we just fix this problem, if we just have the conversation in Arabic and use this terminology, we say Microsoft, .NET, SMVC, nothing of this changes. But the conversation is in Arabic. At least we and I made this clear in the very beginning. We're not going to translate anything, or at least not try to. So so this is why we moved it into Arabic. So yeah, I would ask them if they're gonna speak for 1 hour about something, and they would say that I'm very comfortable in this topic.
Okay.
And then I would prepare questions. this question, I'll tell them, look, these questions are only means of driving the conversation, and that you are prepared. So I don't ask you something you just stumble upon and say, I don't know, or like you give a silly answer, or like I want your ideas to be ready to answer it. But this does not mean that we're going to be stuck to these questions. Yeah. It's not an interview, like it's not a test.
Yeah, it's guidelines.
Yeah, it's guidelines. Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation. Yeah. This is the word I use. We are having a conversation. These are the things that we're gonna talk about. And I tried my best not to put questions that has yes or no, because in a conversation you want something to.
Exactly. You want to elaborate.
Exactly. How? Why? What? Stuff like
your thought process. Where is it?
Exactly. So I would share this with the guest. I give them some time to digest, and then the trouble of finding a time slot. He is busy, I'm busy that day, so, and at that time I upgraded from the microphone to bring an USB audio device. I can't remember the name now. That had two XLR microphone. It's like a XLR.
So it's like all on one device.
Carol. Yeah. It's a one audio device that takes two microphone inputs. Yeah, just like it's like audio interface they call it now. The musicians have a lot of it. Like when they have a band, they plug the instruments from the microphones, and then. But for me, it was because it's podcast, and there was like I couldn't now. If you search podcast instruments or kit, you'll find a lot. Yeah. But at that time, I had to look in the music industry. What's in there to have a good microphone, and then there was like audio device that it has two input XLR.
If you want to help you.
No, it was all my own research. This is why I probably did not pick the best tools. But at that time, it's very important to make it clear that if I wanted to wait until I learned everything to do a good podcast, I probably wouldn't have started ever.
Yeah, that's not the case.
Yeah. So I was like I'm happy that I picked the most basic one with that single microphone, and then even with the audio, I just picked the next best thing.
Yeah.
So Carol, I think Carol microphone they called it at that time, with audio and then USB to the this to remove the most of the noise.
Yeah.
So this meant I had to be physically in the area with the person. That I couldn't just record it over Skype or at that time.
Yeah.
So it was very hard to schedule, and I would travel to that place and or maybe I would do it in the office, but they would have to stay after working hours.
It's inconvenient.
Exactly. But we did it. Yeah. We did it, and I recorded a couple of episodes like this. I used Audacity at that time. It's like a software tool to remove the noise, do the clipping, the like.
Yeah, I think it's still around, isn't it?
It is. So it's becoming better and better. It's open source free. So it was, yeah. So I recorded a couple of episodes, and then based on that, with the user group that I was, like the talks I've been doing, they encouraged me, the community there, to apply for the Microsoft MVP award.
Okay. Tell us a bit about this MVP award. What is it?
Yeah, the Microsoft MVP award is a program from Microsoft that rewards people in the community who talks about the Microsoft technology and spread the word. Okay. The thing about the MVP award is that you are meant to be a subject matter, not something we wouldn't say subject, an expert in that technology. It gave you the prestigious position that you know what you're talking about when you are. For this open doors for you to work with other companies or get jobs. And God probably will talk about this. God, this podcast really is going along, so you can word me. So So if you get this award, it opens door for you, but also Microsoft gets the benefit of you are spreading the word. You're educating the community. Like it's free marketing almost.
It's like champions programs. They have
Exactly. So I applied for that. Then you had to go through nomination. Someone nominates you, and then you provide the numbers. This is how many people listen to the podcast. This is how many sessions I've made in the past year, and based on that, they say, okay, you get the award on it. Yeah. And I remember I got the award then, and then I told my friends in the company, and they made small party for me, and they give.
Good friends, man.
I have. I'm gonna say this again. Yeah. I'm gonna say that surround yourself with good people. Yeah. They are the key to my success. Of course, my family for at most like my family, but after the family is the friends.
Yeah.
If anyone is hearing, like I'm giving you all the credit. So they made a part for me, and I was happy. And then at that time, I thought, okay. At that time there was Twitter, and also Omar Qadan pushed me to use Twitter at that time. Yeah. So I started becoming something, and like, oh, I use Twitter. It's good. It's very fun like that. I checked it out. Oh my God, this is gonna take a lot of time. There's a lot of tweets and so. And but then I started making connections and discovering people from other communities, like Egyptian experts. There were like several people, experts, and I didn't know about in the community, and also from because my involvement in the user groups. Microsoft making conferences and then inviting speakers from Egypt, and then I started having more exposure. And then another friend who studied with me in the university knew another friend, Egyptian friend, in working in Abu Dhabi, and this was an like expansion of connections. Yeah, exactly. So I moved from having face-to-face conversations to Skype. And I remember I interviewed lovely people like from like using the Skype. I remember I talked to Mohammed Maligi and Mohammed Musa. They were one was in Abu Dhabi, one was in Egypt at that time. And we had episodes. They are still in .NET Arabic. You can go and check them. So this was really nice. And then what happened? These two connections specifically had big influence on me as well.
Okay.
How so? Also, after some time, after I made the interviews with them and recorded the episodes, Mohammed Musa approached me on Twitter, and he said, I moved to Australia. And I'm working with this company called Readify. Maybe you'd like to apply.
Readify, it's called.
Readify, yes. And I said, oh man, are you kidding me? It's a very long shot. Very long shot. And he was also at the Microsoft MVP at that time. Like, who would look from Australia at someone in Jordan and give me a visa, business visa, work visa? So, yeah, it's like, well, this is a very long shot. I said, man, what are you gonna lose? Just apply. And this is another lesson. Like, I said, okay, fine. So I did. I applied for Readify. Then I received an email. I was like, we'd like to talk. Oh my God,
we're getting somewhere.
You're getting somewhere. Like, this is crazy. Like receiving an email from someone outside and like, and this conversation happened, and then. A test quiz, and I managed to do that test quiz, and it was all right. And then another conversation, and then another conversation, and then I got the job.
Yeah.
What?
So you moved to Australia.
I moved to Australia. So it was. I was very fortunate, of course. Alhamdulillah. So I went in 2012 and moved to Australia to work with Readify.
So you move into the next stage of your life.
the next stage of my life. And it was very interesting. I remember when Mohammed Musa picked me up from the airport. I was working with Readify at that time. And they would have given me an apartment for 1 month until I find a place to stay with. So it was in the city. The building's still there. It was a very surreal experience, like a different country, riding on the wrong side of the world, driving on the wrong side of the world. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So it was very different. And then I remember also one of the funny things about my first experience, how different things are. Like it was in the night. I spent the day. And then I said in the afternoon in the evening, I said, I'm going to go down and explore the city. It was 6 p.m. In a working day, 2012, in July.
So it would have been dark.
Yes, it was dark. If you live in the Middle East, you know that this is not a problem.
Okay.
So I went down from the apartment and there was no one. Like no one in the streets, like zero. There's not a single soul.
Yeah.
I said oh, what's going on? What's wrong? Is there a problem? Is there's a strike or something? And then I moved. Maybe this street there's not a lot of people. And then I moved around. And there's no one. And then I realized that in Australia, in Melbourne at least at that time, people just go home. There's no it's life outside stops almost. Unlike Jordan and the Middle East, it never sleeps. Like you go in the street at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. and everybody's out. There's a traffic jam even. It's there's a lot of shops are open, restaurants are open. Everybody's outside. It's like vibrant, alive. Yeah. So this is one of the things that the cultural differences I had to learn. Yeah. So Readify, I started with Readify, amazing company. Oh, by the way, I stayed with them for 9 years, and before the name has changed. And
9 years.
Yeah.
What do they actually do?
Readify is a boutique consultancy company. So they hire people. Who are they used to claim that we hire the best 2% people of their okay. I don't know. It's also a marketing way. They're really smart at that time. They really emphasize on Microsoft MVPs. At some point there was maybe 5 people Microsoft MVPs in the company, and it was a very small company. It was we're not a lot. We're in different states, but in Melbourne. I can't remember, I think we were 20, 25. Really? Yeah, I think, yeah. I think at that time it were even less maybe. I can't remember exactly, but so we were a few. But we still, from these, 5 MVPs, one of them wrote books like Nahesh. So it was a very smart way of starting a company that markets itself. So there was not a lot of marketing that they had to do. There was not their consultants are in the community by passion, because they go and they speak in conferences and user groups, and this was for example, they go to a client and they say we have consultants, and they who do you have, and say we have Mahesh Krishnan. What? Mahesh Krishnan with you? Oh, of course, yeah, okay, I saw him talking about the conferences and and there's Alex Mackey. Oh, Alex Mackey is and then we had to get very nice gigs and engagements. And they were nice value, and we had a lot of respect, and so it was.
Which kind of clients were they looking to land?
It was very interesting criteria, because first of all, there should be money in it, of course.
Yeah, of course. It's got to continue.
Yeah, but also a problem that the consultants like to solve. Okay. Yeah. We did not take any job. I remember that if the problem we are brought to solve is not interesting enough, and this will bore the developers or the consultants, they will not take it.
By the way, like I remember like reading through your LinkedIn, you guys aren't like, when you say consultant, often it means hands off.
No.
Yeah, like that's what used to confuse me. You used to hear consultant, I'm like, these guys aren't really, they're like tech leads.
Absolutely. And Readify, you had to be very hands-on. Yeah. You can't claim like this ivory tower did not exist.
Yeah,
so you roll your sleeves and you know stuff. So we used to write code. We use brought into like a problem, be architects or tech leads, and tell them like this is the wrong design. You have the database is hammered. And do performance tuning, and we like really help the customers. This is why we kept our clients, kept having clients coming, and we kept growing because it was proven that we are.
This is just me being cynical, but it sounds like the company knew who their audience was, and that's why they named them consultants.
Absolutely. Like because the company also was like small, and the people, the founders, had really strong vision. They were MVPs themselves, I think, at that time. So they knew exactly what they would attract, like what customers they would attract, what employees they would attract, and there was a couple of nice perks, like you get to own the laptop after 2 years, and every 2 years you get to renew it. Interesting problems to solve.
So the big place to work at.
Absolutely, it was very it was amazing. I wouldn't have stayed for 9 years. It was and I had I went through the whole thing from senior developer, because I had to also this is a good lesson learned in career. Like I jumped from senior developer to tech lead, senior developer, tech lead, back to senior developer.
It's based on the project.
No. This is if we go back to the history, in my career, when I moved to Australia, I went to senior developer. I was tech lead in Essence. I went to Australia as a senior developer. So it's a drop, you can say, back to in my career, sit back. But it's also I went from senior developer, senior consultant, lead consultant, and now a PC. So I went through the whole process. Readify was really interesting. The people there were extremely smart. I would say, for example, if I compare myself to eStart and eSense, I was with the smartest people. Readify took this to another level. Yeah, I was in Readify. The caliber of the people at that time, I can't describe how smart they were, and how I was. The imposter syndrome kicked so hard in Readify. I felt like I'm gonna be fired in no time. They're gonna expose me. They're gonna know me. They're gonna.
Did that help you level up though?
Look, if I was not fortunate enough to be able to control it, I probably would have said that it have put me down.
Okay.
It's imposter syndrome is very important to be controlled.
Yeah.
If you don't control it, it's gonna give you anxiety, could be depression. It will influence your productivity, your conversation. You'll draw out from the crowds because you don't want to expose yourself. You're gonna have to communicate less, talk less. So if it let it get the best out of you, but if you control it and push it, and because it never goes away.
I was going to say, how do you channel it?
Oh, look, I think it's this is a topic by itself, and a lot of people have talked about it. But from my past experience, first of all, friends. Yeah, of course, absolutely. We're gonna come back to friends, and the context, the circumstances, the environment that you put yourself on. You have to look back at your successes. You use this as a proof to your negative self. And so I did very good stuff before. I did that script that automated that job. I created a podcast when there was no podcast. of course, the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani, I'm not saying astaghfirullah, and you should never give credit to yourself. It's all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah give you the things that I have right now is from Allah, but it's the tools that help me. That I have the tools. I have the things that Allah have given me to be able to succeed in the next one as well. Alhamdulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. If you have to look back at your successes and see to boost yourself, you also have to say what's the to care less about what people think, because you give a lot of attention to what people think, but in reality they are more careful about themselves. Everybody is busy with themselves. They are not really busy about you if you know. And you might say something stupid that they
just
ignore it, move on. Yeah, this is but you keep loading about it, thinking about it for a month. Oh, I shouldn't have said this. Now everybody thinks I'm a fraud. And so you have to give less attention to people.
I think understanding that people aren't obsessed with you and what you're doing is an important
Absolutely. And also to understand that there's mistakes. Mistakes can happen. You'll always say something stupid and or do something wrong. And in that case, you own it as well. There's no problem. So oh, I said this was wrong. Ha ha ha. It's don't make it oh, my life's ruined. You just laugh it off. I say I was wrong. Easy. So with these things, you keep pushing it and control it, and sometimes you'll be very good at it, and you'll say my confidence over the moon. Sometimes you lose control at all and say what am I doing here? So it's you should never feel that it's going to be constant. You're going to fight this all your career.
Yeah,
it's go up and down.
Yeah, it modulates. It does go up. So I think it's great advice in terms of imposter syndrome and monitoring that, especially for all the people starting out in the workplace, working with smarter people, which is actually important, especially if you're getting started in the workplace, because you learn from them, and if you frame it in that mindset, it'll help you throughout your career as well.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to, I think you're at Readify. You finishing up at Readify. Where do you go from here?
Yeah, so Readify, I think it was brilliant time because I spent I was exposed to too many technologies, too many problems. Okay. It added a lot to my breadth of knowledge because of the nature of the exposure, and also the awesome colleagues I've learned a lot from throughout the way. So I moved from senior developer to senior consultant, and then managing consultant to the last days, and then recently, I call it recently, looking back at the 20 years, it's recently the last 2 years, I moved to a company called Insight, where I'm working as a principal consultant at the moment.
Nice. And before we get on to Insight, what's the most interesting project you worked on at Readify that you can talk about?
Or look, I don't think you can say the most single interesting one. There was, of course, there's ups and downs.
Yeah,
there's projects that are really, and these projects are really exciting. Yeah. But I remember that we worked for an accounting company, big account company, to work on their architecture. At some point, we worked for big airline ticketing company to help them with their architecture as well. There's big opportunities that happen at time, and I also worked with small companies that only a handful of employees, that they had a problem with their performance application and fine-tuning their application.
Okay.
So it's I think it varies
spectrum.
Yeah, it's a very big spectrum indeed.
And that Insight, you've been there for 2 years now?
Insight in 2 years, principal consultant, the role varies between looking after current implementations, current delivery of projects. You supervise the delivery from technical perspective. It's going fine. The relationship with the customers, the pre-sales and
Okay.
after like it's a very good situation. I mean,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, then, one thing I do want to touch on a little bit is so now we're moving into an era where software development is no longer about doesn't necessarily operate the way it used to. So we have the advent of things like GitHub Copilot and AI as a kind of augmenting the software development experience.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Mm.
And where is this headed?
All right. Look, I think a lot of smarter people talked about this in the industry already, but my position is that, of course, AI is revolutionizing the way we are building software, but it's a very important tool.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, it's a tool that will help us be more productive, more easy to find solutions to problems that we are having. But I don't go too far to say like it's going to replace developers or we will not need developers anymore. I don't feel like even if it's going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But I think it's very important now for developers to understand this and try to use it to their advantage, and also know the drawbacks of AI, because just like Stack Overflow when it came about, it helped a lot of people trying to find answers to problems, but it depended on how you take that answer. Like, are you gonna take it, copy paste it, or are you gonna look at the answer, understand what's happening, morph it into a way that is better for your situation, amend it with other things that you have, or the like. And this is exactly the same. Are you gonna get that code from Copilot and just paste it in, or are you gonna understand it, try to understand, amend it to work for you, best for you, the way hybrid it with something else? This is one of the things that I think about. And also you rely on it to learn, but don't become too lazy thinking of that problem. Maybe I would say try to solve it yourself first, and then check Copilot. So that you give yourself the opportunity to come up with a solution yourself, because this is a mechanism that is important for your brain to understand the logic, understand the programming problems, to help you. Like, if you at some point come with a niche problem or an innovative problem that was not covered before, which is probably unlikely these days, but when it happens, like, you can think for yourself, and have this critical thinking method, rather than just like, if Copilot goes away, like, oh, I'm stuck.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the differentiation, I think, probably needs to be drawn here between something like ChatGPT, for example, and Copilot, because Copilot, as the name suggests, it's essentially in the code base with you, coding away. So it's actually got awareness of the intricacies of your code base. So a lot of developers are saying, like, it's pretty much writing, for some people, 80% of their code. The only drawback I see, or the only caveat for me personally, is that those people that it has 80% of the code writing for them, they can write that code themselves. Yeah, because ultimately, like, we've heard this concept of AI hallucinations. So AI is very good at saying stuff and, like, being confident in its answer, when really it may be completely false.
Absolutely.
In what it's saying.
Correct.
So for me, that's the only caveat. Like, there's an art to it. So you have to understand what you're asking for, what the solution should look like.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're likely to get yourself into a world of trouble.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's a tool that you really need to hone and know how to use. Absolutely.
Yep. And it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Absolutely. So those people, because there are some people, unfortunately, that are just like, no AI. It's like when Stack Overflow came out, some people were adamant that you still got to memorize all the commands by heart and all that kind of stuff. I mean, sure, it's pretty impressive that they can remember all that by heart, but there's so much.
Yeah, I think yeah, absolutely. It's also like if you bring it, maybe I can use this resemblance, but it's like you're writing machine code and you're refusing to use C++ or more advanced languages because no, I'm gonna write this in an assembly. I think it's gonna be very similar. So it's a tool that's gonna help your productivity, but it's not something that is gonna take away from your intellectual ability unless you allow it to do that.
And just finally, what can you say for young up-and-coming developers? What can you say for them in terms of how to deal with this technology and how to use it in their own stack? How to work with it?
I think it's like, I don't want to give wrong advice here because especially if it's for young people. But I feel that you have to make sure that you have strong foundation. Don't start from the end. I'm not saying that don't use this tool. Of course, use it, but it's every suggestion that Copilot does, you have to read, understand what it's doing, why it's doing this way, what is a better way. You have to really understand what's going on and build your foundations on solid understanding. Read the books, read the languages, the documentation, the details of how things run in that language. For example, if you're running it like .NET, what's happening behind the scenes. You might not find this useful specifically in specific tasks or daily tasks, but in the long run, it's going to help you much more in trying to solve bigger problems and more efficient code, and also using Copilot for in the best potential.
Yeah, try making the most out of it.
Exactly. If you don't have the foundation and use Copilot, like you said, it's easy to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, that's true. Last but not least, you said your podcast starting out Arabic. What's happened to it?
Oh boy, unfortunately, look, the website is there.
Yeah.
I don't know when was the last episode I have done. Like, it's been years. Let me check.
And like people can access it still.
Yeah.
This episode.
.netarabic.com. Just go there. It was with Hassan Barakat, one of my Readify colleague. Very strong and lovely person. When was this? Let me see. I think I'm gonna go to archives. 2018. Oh my God!
The last episode.
Oh yeah, 5 years already. Time flies.
Yeah.
That's episode 52. No. Episode 42.
So you got 42 episodes here.
42
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't. Like, it's obvious that you can say it's almost dead. But I never killed it. I never pulled the plug out. I still paying the domain. I'm still paying for the hosting. I'm hoping one day it will be picked up again. Because I sincerely believe that, like, I received a lot of good feedback. During that time, people from different countries were like commenting and the like. So I'm hoping one day that it might come back in a different shape or form to continue.
Yeah, nice. And look, we'll link to it in the description, so people can check it out for themselves. And hopefully people can still continue to get benefit from it. Emad, thank you for coming along. Talking to us on the podcast today. Where can people find you on social media? How can they get in touch with you if they want to reach out for a chat?
I mostly, these days, I spend most of my time on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I used to have big on Twitter.
Yeah.
But with the recent changes, it's becoming less. This time there. But you can find me. My handle is EMADASHI on Twitter. You can find me there. I'll be very happy to receive any comments on or questions or the like. And I'm really like I know that it was a narration of events. This podcast, like I'm hoping that someone out there have benefited from something listening today. So
yeah, thank you for joining us today, and for all of you out there listening, we'll put the links to Emad's profile, the LinkedIn and the Twitter down in the comment in the section description below. For our social media, keep an eye out on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube is where we'll post the video of this podcast and subsequent podcasts as well as previous podcasts. And we'll also be in all places where you can listen to podcasts, but particularly Spotify. Thank you all for coming along and listening to today's podcast. Thank you, Emad, for coming along today and joining us. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.